Evening all, welcome back to Total Dust, and today we're going to look at the 1.10 patch. This is exciting times. You can see and hear in my voice that I'm excited and I just can't hide it. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. There's the only things to moan about we'll come to, but there's not many, so that's good, and that's a good that's a good sign. But we played just so much of this. I think when the patch day was Tuesday, I think. And I must have played probably 20 games, maybe a bit more. But either way, I played it, I loved it, I enjoyed it, and it's pretty good. Now, I should have probably shown the daily rewards thing, but I forgot. So, sue me. I'm a what is it? A colonel, a colonel, if you're from the colonies. So yeah, I think let's just try and order our thoughts somewhat. This was probably the best match we had all night. Place your bets if you can tell who's going to win. Place your bets, place your bets. Just a wonderful match. Very close. Very rage-filled from me because it was like, oh, dudes, where's the flipping equipment? And so on. So, you know, as you can see, the game's changing quite a bit. And I think maybe let's begin with rewards. Rewards are something that have obviously come into the game. There has never been, to my memory, other than PC, let me be clear on this. In public matches, there's never been any need to actually win the battle because you get paid, I think, the same amount, maybe a bit less. But either way, there's no real kind of incentive. Whereas now, with the reward system, you actually need to win. Well, you don't. You kind of do because your rewards are based upon. One of the rewards is based upon winning matches and so on. So you can see it's an interesting kind of scenario because it's brought about some very, I guess, interesting. I don't know, dynamic play where people are actually trying now. Maybe trying a bit too hard in some cases, but we'll come to that. I think just generally the rewards scheme is very good. It is a blatant cash grab, but I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, if you want to pay for Aurum keys to unlock your rare loots, then so be it. If you have a problem with pay to win, this is a freemium game. It's not free, it's freemium. So, you know, deal with it. Go and play other games if you don't like the freemium model. I mean, I hear PlanetSide 2's got a really good kind of free-to-play model. Oh, no, it doesn't. It's absolutely packed with freemium bollocks. So I don't think you're ever going to escape freemium because how dare you say that the developer can't make money and sustain their lives and pay for their Lamborghinis and their expensive ivory towers. Of course they've got to make money. It's a business. I think Dust has been incredibly caring to this point, honestly, to the point of almost nauseum, because they really do provide a game for free and they don't shove it down your throat like PlanetSide 2, like Elite Frontier. Sorry, Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous is a great game, but I'm so sick of being marketed to. Every time you log on, would you like to buy a Cobra skin for that nice ship you're flying? No, not really, go away. And it's just filled with like endless monetization. That's what it is. It's monetization. In Dust, yes, it was being subtle for a while. Now it's overt. It's so overt that it's basically just been flopped out and laid upon the desk ready for all to pay for. I don't know what I'm talking about, but basically monetization is here and it's here to stay because you can pretty much guarantee that if they're going to make money from a game, now's the time to do it because quite frankly they probably need to really push this game and its profitability. Anyway, so from a rewards point of view, you unlock your rewards, you get loot and skill points and all that good stuff. You also get encrypted cans. Ooh, I hear you cry. And you then unlock your cans with keys. Now, people are asking me, but Pyrex, where do keys come from? And it's obvious. It comes from the shop in the high street, dude. No, I'm kidding. It comes from, you can get rare mission rewards that will give you the odd key here and there. Or you can buy them. There are other ways, but I'm not yet privy to the knowledge of that. But again, it's an interesting scenario. It's a bit like Borderlands, where you find your loot chests and you fight over them, and then it gets nasty, and then somebody ends up with a broken nose, IRL. But I think either way, this is quite a cool step forward. Let's talk about some other things. Ranks, that's exciting, isn't it? I always am interested to see what ranks people are. I never realized I was a colonel. It is, you're probably sitting there thinking, but hang on, I've got like 500,000 war points and my KDR is, well, I don't know, 100 to 1, whatever, who cares? And you're probably sat there as maybe a captain or even a sergeant. I've seen some incredibly advanced players in my mind, and they turn out to be sergeants or sergeant majors. And I'm like, hang on. What the hell's that? And it turns out that your ranking is actually based upon a number of different things, including, get this, Aurum sales, or purchases rather. So if you buy Aurum, your ranking goes up higher. So I'm not saying rush out and buy loads of Aurum and you'll become, quote, a general, but you might. So go figure. I like the rankings. I think it's cool. I don't even know why you turn it off, to be honest, because there's something quite cool about knowing that you've been killed by, I don't know, a general or something like that. That's quite cool. I like that. Other than that, it serves no purpose whatsoever, other than that is likely something to do with Project Legion. So if you think you're taking your money and your skill points and your assets into Legion, oh dear, never in a month of Sundays will that happen. Literally, pigs will be flying in squadrons of flocks and craziness above you before that ever happens, because there's just no way they're going to do that. What you'll get is a rank, and that rank maybe gives you accelerated skill points for a year or something. But anyway, I don't know. That's what I feel would make sense. Otherwise, it's not fair. Otherwise, how on earth is anybody going to compete? Another subject entirely. Let's not go down that road. I think in terms of my fits, I think I'm running a Mimitar Assault now. I've got bored of the plasma cannon. They've nerfed the Caldari suit that I was running. As I said in the last video, it was pretty much my scan fit. I ran a real paper-thin scan fit, because if I see you before you see me, chances are you're going to die with the plasma cannon in my hands. So yeah, I kind of missed that fit, actually. I think the scanning nerf did seem brutal, but you got to deal with it. There's not a lot you can do about that. There's certain things that I think really have changed considerably, like equipment, for example. Let's talk about that. Having now experienced the patch, played it for a bit and sort of given it a bit of a kick of the tires, I can report two things. Number one, it's very difficult to kind of equipment spam anymore. You have to kind of stick with the suits, and if you don't stick with the suit, well, you lose your equipment. Drop pads are becoming quite a rarity. Obviously not for this team, but I think, you know, in general, most matches I'm not seeing much equipment at all, to be honest. And it's a bit frustrating when you find that there's no spawn pad to spawn to. In fact, we actually get pushed off the bridge, maybe even has just happened, because we didn't have any spawn pads. So yeah. And secondly, I'm very, very disheartened to report that the bomb truck is dead, which is a terrible, terrible thing. I think it's been killed because you can't really deploy 6 remote explosives unless you're running like a proto-logi suit. And what's the point of throwing away a proto-logi suit when, you know, you could just get a seeker for the same cost and go and chase them with a free railgun? Do you know what I mean? So I'm a bit sad about that. I think that is a whole tactic that's now gone. Unless you get a squad mate to put them on you, unless you do this, blah, 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 blah. But to be honest, the basic concept of bomb trucking is now pretty much dead. Some will rejoice, some will be sad, but either way, it's a shame. I think it's a shame. Anything that reduces stuff is a shame. Let's talk about orbitals. Orbitals are pretty interesting. There's 4 types of orbitals, because one is a load of shuddering arse. You have the 300-point EMP strike. They might as well have just retitled it to Don't Bother Bro. Then you have the 3,000-point large area EMP strike. Thumbs up, love it, very good for clearing a whole socket of equipment. You then have the 4,000 warpoint laser strike, which is I think similar to the old orbital, and then you have this kind of crazy steroid injected orbital, which is a 5,000 point, which we do towards the end of the video, so keep watching. This one pretty much wins us the game, so go figure. I spoiled it for you, but anyway, the 5,000 one has a massive footprint and it does do a huge amount of damage, so you know, big fan. But as you can see, you know, just the equipment changes have changed the game somewhat. I think you still get equipment spam, but I think people are you're having to adjust fit. So, you know, the usual thing of drop ship in, go high, drop a huge amount of equipment, change to heavy, jump down, capture point, which is almost the lifeblood of this freaking game, has been interrupted slightly because it's not as easy as that anymore. But I still see that the gangs, the power gangs as they should be called, are still kind of doing this, where they're forcing people to run, you know, a logi and so on. I don't have an issue with it. I think it's kind of cool in a way. But anyway, so that's equipment changes and the changes of bomb trucks, etc., etc. And I think it's kind of an interesting one because I tried my Minmatar Protology. So I've got two drop pads and two, I think, the Alatech nano hives, and when you drop them all together, you find that they basically disappear. So the bandwidth is quite important. You need to probably sit down and just figure it all out. I didn't. I just ran my old fits. You probably actually need to sit and refit your whole suite, to be honest. So worth doing, I think. But look at that! Look at that! Our major war barge laser strike blap killed many things. Wonderful, wonderful. I think, to be honest, I'm not sure why they didn't orbital us back, or maybe they did and I just missed it, because it's like the days of old. It felt a bit like the days of old where people didn't go upon high all the time. They actually brought a fight to you. But let me maybe address some of the bad sides of this. None of it's to do with the patch. I'm afraid it's to do with just the current balance of the game. Again, I'm not advocating mass changes here. I just think maybe a few tweaks here and there would fix it. But there's two kind of challenges at the moment. Number one is most definitely the breach assault rifle. That gun is ridiculously good. It just has an incredibly high hipfire auto aim assist tracking ability. So if I'm running across a field, there's no fields in Dust. If I'm running across like an open area, the only thing that's going to pretty much insta-jib me is the breach AR. Everything else, like the combat rifle, will hurt me and I have to evade. But the breach AR just follows me. I actually jumped over, I ran around in my stupid scout suit and I jumped over a dude, literally pretty much jumped over him, and I just watched his gun track me all the way over him. And it was like, how did it, all like 5 shots, 6 shots to kill me connected. I just sat there and thought, wow, that's a bit crap. So hopefully that gets changed, because it's just ridiculous. It's such an unbalanced gun and it's kind of obvious. I know a lot of people are just going to spurge at me now, but come on, you can't have one gun that is so good versus another. You know, let's talk about our next our next challenge, which is heavy suits. Heavy suits and heavy machine guns seem a little unfair. Let me tell you why, because there's very little skill involved. Where am I going with this? You're thinking you're about to get angry, aren't you? No, I'm not. I'm not going there. There's very little skill involved with having a suit which has, 1,700 hit points, and then also probably has one of the highest DPS guns with it as well. Plus it strafes like a mofo. And I guess there's no penalty to using other than you can't drop equipment, which isn't that interesting anyway. And really, I think it is such a powerful suit. Now I know it's kind of meant to be, but I would almost say it's kind of makes no sense the heavy is even in the game. And let me kind of share thoughts here, because I'm trying to debate here. I'm not saying they should remove it, but I'm just saying it doesn't feel like it naturally fits. Because it feels like they decided to put a heavy in with one gun. Okay, the forge gun, but that's not anti-infantry. They've decided to put a suit in with one gun, and then they never did anything with it. It's just there. And I find that all of the other suits have grown. You've got all of the other types of suits: assault, scout, logistical, etc. Now I know the heavy suit, you can kind of complain that there's a commando, but that doesn't again really count. It just feels that the heavy suit is kind of, I think, just almost completely wrong. Everything about it is kind of wrong. That it's such a powerful suit, that it's got such high DPS, that it's got such great range, and it's kind of so easy. I'm going to get flamed for this, but to me it doesn't make much sense. I always think that suit just kind of baffles me. And what I find is that if I run around a corner and plasma cannon somebody in an assault suit or a scout suit or whatever it is, their way of getting my revenge on me is not to come back at me with a similar fit or a cloaked scout to maybe try and sneak around and get me, or even just a mass driver, which is the most logical effing conclusion I could come with. No, they'll get a heavy and they'll rush a heavy to where I last killed them, and then they'll sort of stand there, sort of angrily, looking around. And I think that's kind of a shame. Let me kind of go a further step with that. The problem is what you are seeing now is that there is almost an exclusivity towards heavy suits. So if you play things like the R&D complex, or if you play any of the new sockets, you generally find that a good third to half of the gang is in heavy suits, just storming forward. And I kind of respect it. I think it's interesting, but I think it's a bit broken. That's it. That's all I'll say about it. I think there's just a few, you know, if those two kind of suits got a little bit of a fix to make them just a bit more logical, like I'm not saying give them less damage, I'm not saying give them less hit points, but make it so that if you fire the HMG, if you move around, forget it, it's got no aiming at all, it'll just jib around everywhere. That would make the most sense, wouldn't it? The ability to strafe with the heavy as well is also just absolutely heartbreaking when you see it. Anyway, so those are the kind of two things that I've noticed. There's just a massive proliferation of these kind of guns, particularly things like the bolt pistol. Wow, that gun. Aim assist, I think, was always a bad idea. The game changed and became a lot easier when aim assist came in, and I know I'm going to kind of sound like a bitter old vet here, but I remember the game was a lot more fun in Chromosome. Oh god, I can't believe I'm saying it. When there wasn't aim assist, it was a pretty frantic time when you came across two dudes and you start shooting. It did take skill to kill one another. Nowadays, it's who's bought a turbo controller or not. Literally, it's that. And I think it's pretty sad when you see how effective turbo controllers are, when you see how many people are using them because their little frame jibs out every time they fire. It just feels such a shame. It's such a lost opportunity in a way. But anyway, I think the general kind of impetus of the game is not really to create a hardcore, you know, PvP shooter. I think that was what they originally intended to do, because that was their mission statement, to move people away from COD and Battlefield 3 and whatever it was, and move them to a game that was a much more kind of severe, deep, hardcore shooter. But what they've ended up creating is a very light lobby shooter that makes Counter-Strike look deep. And I think that's a shame in a way, because they've simplified too much aim assist and just almost the way that they approach the suits as well, the way that the balancing is done, the map design, everything about it is very casual. Now, I have fun with that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just very, it's a shame in a way, because I would have expected CCP to never put things like aim assist into a game, and I think for so long now I've just kind of begrudgingly accepted it, but lately it seems to be getting more and more prevalent with things like the assault. The breach assault rifle. So anyway, those are the kind of challenging things of the game. I think 1.10 is a great patch. The level of competitiveness has gone through the roof, and let me share with you my final problem with this game at the moment. I'm not actually that good at it. I know a lot of people look at my videos and think, wow, this guy's not too bad. I'm not great because I'm a casual player. I never get enough time to play Dust. So, you know, I'll play like 3 or 4 times a week, like hardcore. But hardcore for me is maybe 3 or 4 hours. That's it. That's all I can do. And the problem is matchmaking now puts me against people who will play all day, or at least very closely to that. And they stomp the shit out of me. So, you know, this is the problem I guess I'm having now, is that I just don't play as much as I maybe would like to. Which causes a few challenges, because I mean lately with this new patch we've had a lot of people coming back and it's just gang after gang. And I'll give you an example. We formed a gang yesterday to run skirmish because we kind of wanted to get away from the very obvious tryhards, and we went through I think about 7 matches where we were the only squad on our side with a load of randoms, you know, because there's no other gangs, versus 2 full squads on their team. And we got stomped, and we lost like 9 matches in a row, which is incredible because we hadn't lost anything until this patch. So maybe matchmaking's changed as well, I don't know. But it just feels at the moment that really, wow, it's really, really difficult to get a good game like this one. This was the reason I've kind of like almost hewn this into the video is because this was a rare thing where it was an incredibly close and fun battle. Everything else since 1.10 has been an utter stomp one way or the other, and I'm really worried about that, because I think there's nothing worse that's going to kill anybody's interest in the game than getting smashed into the ground too often. But there we go. Fun game, interesting fun, interesting patch. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Lots of kills, nice orbitals, loving the orbitals, and I think let's see where it goes. Hopefully not too many more stomps. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.